Blastpop here. Today I am doing a shrink wrap removal of Heroes of the Motherland by Lock and Load Publishing. This is the Eastern Front version of the Lock and Load series of tactical squad and tank level combat. The subject is the Eastern Front in World War II, and the Eastern Front is known for its vast expanses of open terrain, city fights, river crossings, panzer attacks, counterattacks, conf groups, battle groups, dug-in areas, Kursk, Stalingrad, Leningrad, Moscow, the Crimea. So many places that had such desperate and diverse types of combat. Now, with this system, you're able to do so and have that combat at a very low level. And this game is rather deluxe packaging. It's a 3-inch box. And here's the back, giving you details as to what's in the game. All kinds of goodness here. "14 maps, 5 sheets of counters, reasonable solitaire play, 17 scenarios and campaigns." You can see a sample of the artwork and for the counters and a little bit of the map underneath those counters. Very nice indeed. So we will open this up here and take a look to see what we have in the box. Opening the shrink, and it's quite a package from what I understand. So here we go. Get rid of all the plastic. So here we try to open this thing up. It's a manual dexterity test for one hand. Okay, here's the goodness. Okay, you have the module rules and scenario rules, and scenarios actually. Now this weighs in at approximately 56 pages. Okay, this has a matte style finish. Example of the counters and what the values mean. You have a campaign random event, period artwork, Pavlov's house, bridge over the river for scenarios, over the Dnieper River. Rat and Craig must be Stalingrad. Use a little dot with that. More period artwork. Enter the guards. Scenario information. Very nicely done. Nicely illustrated. And national characteristics. Let's see. In terms of numbers of scenarios, there's 6, 12, 13. Yeah, it's about 17. I think is what they indicated. Looks about right. Very nice. Continuing along. Counter sheets. 5 of 5. Your fired markers. Ops complete. Turrets. The characteristics of heroes and leaders at the top there for special abilities, or unique abilities. And a map. Okay, this is a 2-sider. there's some variation to it so that you don't have to use overlays, which, having played Squad Leader and Advanced Squad Leader, one of the things I dreaded always was the overlay scenarios, because not only did you have to find the terrain or the overlay to put it on the board, it had to be cut out in advance so you could play it, and then you had to find a way to either tack it down, use plexi, or some other method, or just hope that it doesn't blow away in the wind when it's on the board while you're playing the game. So that's a nice compromise, that they actually just double print it, one on each side. And again, here's a example. Now, what's interesting, looking at the same building essentially appears on both maps. And that's 46B, 49B, so I don't have duplicate maps here, thankfully, so far. Map 45B, which is presumably the alternate version. And there's 45. And then I think this is the final double map. Very nice. The Core's Rules Manual, which in the box is version 4.1. And I understand they're going to 5.0 fairly soon. I've been reviewing the videos online for the 5.0 release that is forthcoming, and based on what I can see, there isn't an awful lot of difference between versions. The big change is the incorporation of the modern rules and World War II rules into one master compendium as opposed to two separate volumes, which might make things easier from the perspective of inventory control. And but perfectly playable out of the box as we have received it. Reference tables. Not going into the system, because the system is reasonably well known. It's been around for a good 10-15 years, so I won't get into the details of how the game is played, but merely as a box opening here as we continue along. Counter sheet 1, including Wehrmacht and SS troops, along with Wehrmacht tanks and equipment at the bottom of the sheet. Sheet 3 looks to be guards, more Germans, markers, tanks, Molotov cocktails, a great drink. Next sheet 4, your Soviet ground forces, partisans, guards, more tank goodies. Satchel charges. All kinds of implements of destruction. And the last counter sheet, this should be sheet 2, Soviet ground forces, leaders, small arms, small weapons, support weapons, a few markers, and more tanks. Excellent. Various system charts, 11 by 17 fold out. The terrain, explanation of some unit counters, system counters. Nice presentation. Various tables, amply illustrated and explained. Now the handy dandy system rules reference card. Once you've read the rules and have a little bit of the idea of how the system plays, this rules reference card should be fairly handy for those things that you happen to forget or don't use that frequently. There's a common nomenclature and key, or legend as they call it here, as to what each of these little symbols mean, so that during the course of the play you can refer to this and keep your head out of the standard rules a little bit, at least. And then there's further references, explanations of the counters, and what's really handy is the national characteristics of the German and Soviet forces and partisans presented here. Nice and handy weapons, ammo, and targets information, and a reference which could be useful in play when you want to know what the value is of a unit in terms of whether it's when it's firing, so you don't have to pick up the counter, flip it over, and if it's carrying something, knock them over. So for the ordnance, it's certainly could be handy in gameplay. Further explanations included are your sequence of play, step reductions. That's always handy because I can never remember what breaks down to what when I'm playing squad leader. And a handy dandy area to hold your dead units, some additional information, and your turn track. Nicely done. A skill reference card which corresponds to the counters and explains the use of these various skills and how to implement them. Suitably large. Campaign game card, along with those random events I believe I had seen earlier, and then a place to keep track of your scenario results. Probably recommend photocopying that before usage. More maps. Oh, and in the bottom of the box, dice, otherwise known as implements of destruction. Now these are single-sided maps here, I believe. River bridge and adjoining farmland. Riverline crossing scenario, maybe? Anybody? Fields, groves. Map 47. The map numbering system corresponds with other games in the series so that you could use other games in the series if you so desired, and to uniquely identify the maps. So while you won't have maps 1 through 14, you can certainly know which map belongs to any given game in the series and where to find them. A large building, field, a focal point for a battle right there, to be sure. The only thing I have to say about these maps, they're a little small, but I played the Heroes of the Nam recently, and they're adequate to the size, and they're nice in that they take up a small footprint. So you don't need a large space to play. You can have a friend come over and play on their kitchen table if need be. A little more urban setting here with a factory and parking lot, presumably. Or what would be a unpaved parking lot, I would assume. Looks like we have up and coming here a forested and a hill area. And the final map fields and a small stream as well. A stream that seems to disappear whenever it goes underground. Maps are geomorphic. Well, they're isomorphic in that they can be used individually or they can fit in various configurations with each other. So, there we have Heroes of the Motherland by Lock and Load Publishing. All kinds of charts, references, 5 sheets of counters, your rules, more maps, another sheet of counters, and the core module rules and scenarios. So there we have it. Please check out my other Lock and Load videos, which include Heroes of the Nam and also a scenario setup and discussion from that game as well. If you like what you see, please give a thumbs up and or subscribe. And until next time, this has been Blastpop. Bye.